we're back again for another episode of the Huge Boob Corner. I am Peter McLean, and today is a very, very special episode, and I know I say that often, but this time I really mean it, and it's for two reasons. One, because it is the Christmas episode of the Huge Boob Corner, and secondly, I'm very, very happy to have my first returning guest and one of my favorite guests on the show so far, Arielle Aquinas.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again.
And thank you so much. I love the Santa hat, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Christmas slut, so I'm always ready.
Yeah, so you love Christmas.
Oh, I love Christmas. I Christmas hard.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So how do you Christmas hard?
I mean, so I try to be cool about stuff because I know everyone gets mad if you like Christmas too early. So I try and like keep it down. But I'm also the type of person, like, if I'm like upset, I don't care if it's July. I will like put on a Christmas movie. I will put on Christmas music. I will absorb those happy, cheerful feelings.
The joy of it, the joyfulness.
Exactly, because that's what I love. So I always tell people like Christmas really hard because I'm trying to absorb all of those happy feelings so that I can keep them, to hold me over for the rest of the year when everything's really shitty, like in January and February. When it's cold, but it's not fun.
Sure. My birthday month, January.
Yeah. Also my mother's.
So you don't think it's too early so when do you actually start do you do like a full decoration type situation?
So I Halloween very hard. I try to do like all the holidays like really hard, but I Halloween very hard. And then I start doing Christmas a little bit right after Halloween.
Okay.
So like November 1st, I'm like, at least getting the decorations out. And then maybe like I'll, switch out my doormat, switch out my door wreath, nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
And then once we get to Thanksgiving, I Thanksgiving very hard. And then like Thanksgiving Day. So like the tradition is, at least in my family, you watch the Macy's Day Parade. And then once Santa Claus shows up at like noon, that's the symbol of the start of the Christmas season. So it is officially Christmas when Santa Claus shows up. And so that's when like I decorated my tree and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, okay, it's officially Christmas now. No one could get mad at me. Yeah. Like, we're good. And yeah, so I've got a lot of Christmas sweaters and I'll wear Christmas jewelry and Christmas music and Christmas TV shows every day and Christmas movies every day, and just like as much Christmas as I can pack in until it turns January. And then once it hits January, I'm like, it's spring now. Because I don't want to do like boring winter. I'm like, nope, now it's spring.
Well, because all you really have after is you've got
New Year's.
Groundhog Day. Well, I was going to say afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Valentine's Day.
But then you've got like a few more like political holidays, like presidents and stuff, but that's not really.
I just don't even count any of the summer holidays. I'm not into any of the summer holidays. I like to like grill out. I like to go to barbecues, but otherwise I'm like, I could do that anytime.
Yeah. So do you like the Hallmark Christmas? Because I know that those movies are.
I really try.
They just seem a little too schmaltzy, like a little too much.
Well, I also I'm of the opinion that everything is sad enough. And so I don't need to watch anything that's going to make me sad.
They make you, they have, because
they're usually like sappy and like romantic, and there's like some heartbreak and I don't want to deal with it. I mean, I'm also not like in the most romantic mood these days anyways, but
still
I pretty much only like watch comedy and like sci-fi and we've talked about Dune.
Yes,
a time
we have.
Or two, so.
We got deep into that, and we'll save that probably for another episode.
That's got to be a whole episode.
We can totally geek out on sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that. So do you have like your Mount Rushmore Christmas movies?
Oh, absolutely. So my like number one very top is A Christmas Story.
Oh, the classic.
Ultimate movie, funniest movie, most quotable, like perfect movie. I know every line of that movie. I've known every line since I was like 3.
Yeah.
And like of the classic children's one, it's Year Without a Santa Claus.
Okay.
Hands down. A little more obscure.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it.
Oh, excellent music. It's the, stop motion animation style.
Oh yeah, so like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that kind of stuff.
Made by those same guys.
Okay.
And it's just, really funny. I even did one year, I did like a porn set of Heat Miser from that film. So once you watch that movie and you see Heat Miser, you're going to be like, why? But it was just because I loved him so much. And I lived in a place, I needed to do a shoot for Christmas, and I lived in a place that didn't have any snow. I lived in a very warm environment. Yeah. So I was like, okay, Heat Miser Christmas. I think I was wearing this hat probably.
Nice. All right. So you got those two.
Got those two. Oh my gosh. The First White Christmas.
The one Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye?
No, that's White Christmas. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but there's one and it's got, what's her name in it? This old lady actress who was like really, really famous and very like wholesome. She was in Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, Angela Lansbury.
Angela Lansbury. She does a voice in it, and she's a nun. And this little shepherd boy gets struck by lightning and he goes blind, and the nuns all have to take care of him. And it's a beautiful story, beautiful music, very like touching. But I don't remember what it's called, but I remember that they sing The First White Christmas is like the main theme of the movie.
Isn't like classic Christmas movies are something different because they were made at a time where I think the world was different, and there was, I think, a lot more I guess optimism overall, and there was a lot of things I think involved. So I don't know if you've ever seen like The Bishop's Wife.
Oh, A Holiday Affair. That's my favorite black and white Christmas film. And the 90s one is almost a shot-for-shot remake, and it's perfect. That's how I want remakes to be made. Yeah. I want the exact movie that I liked, but just like
transposed.
Updated. Yeah. Well, that's what I want.
And they did that. One of my favorite classic ones, and I just watched it for the first time last year, and I'd never seen it before, was the original Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, I love that one.
With Maureen O'Hara and Natalie Wood. And I've seen the remake with Mara Wilson and Elizabeth Perkins, and that's a good remake too.
Right, but no, I prefer the original, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting how those movies, again, because they had there was it seemed like there was still more magic that people believed in the magic of Christmas more. Right. Like now there's a lot more cynicism. There's a lot more, it's commercialized.
The vibe is totally different. Yeah.
Whereas back then the idea of watching a movie where could this guy really be Santa? And it's like, maybe. Yeah. Because they still tried to do that. So there's something about those older films, although newer films Elf I think is a classic.
I never got into Elf.
You don't like it?
I feel like I was like a little too old. Like I was still like young, I think, but I was a little too old to like be into it. And then I think by the time I actually saw it, I was an adult. So like I missed out on that like nostalgia feeling that people have with it.
Because that was Will Ferrell. Like that, I still think that's probably one of his best movies because I've never been a huge Will Ferrell fan.
That was like his first like leading man role, right?
It was one because he had that and Old School the same year. And Old School is more of an ensemble, and Luke Wilson was more the lead of that, whereas he's more and of course one of my favorite Will Ferrell's, which is not a great film, but I love it, which is Night at the Roxbury. It's a great, like it's not a great movie, but for some reason
it's classic,
I love
quotable.
it. Yeah.
We all know when the song comes on. We all know.
Yeah. When What Is Love comes on by Hathaway, it just gets at it takes you there. But no, I think it was his first his first real leading role, because then he did Anchorman the next year. Right. So I think that So and although I've heard that they're going to remake the film, which I'm like, it's only 20 years old. Yeah,
not ready. I'm not ready.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the problem with remakes is they're doing remakes now so soon. Yes. After, like they're going to do a Harry Potter remake.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
And I'm like, that franchise is barely a decade old.
Those people are still alive.
Yeah. Right. So
that was how I felt when they redid Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm like, Robert Englund's still alive. What are you doing?
Well, and I like Jackie Earle. He's a great actor.
I do too, but I never saw it because I was so mad about it. Even though I like him, I will watch it after Robert Englund passes. Hopefully a long time from now.
And because I didn't see it either because I'm not big into horror films a ton. Although what was funny about Nightmare on Elm Street is how they actually got progressively funnier. It seemed like where it was more about
Freddy versus Jason is one of my favorite horror movies, and that movie is hilarious.
Yeah, and that's the thing is and being able to juxtapose one villain who can talk all the time and one who never does.
Talks, right?
So and the jokes are kind of. The jokes playing off of that were pretty fun, but yeah, no, I get that you out of respect you just don't want to watch.
No.
And like you don't want to see, I don't know, when the memory's so fresh.
Yeah.
It's like I get that you're trying to do this for a new generation, but there's nothing wrong with showing older films to young people.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Like create new things for them because like you and I grew up with our own films that meant something to us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you had a formative film, some films when you were, like in middle school or high school that really, really like.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, even Dune, when I saw Dune when I was in middle school, tried to read it when I was in middle school, did not get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, even movies that like I didn't like Return to Oz.
Mm-hmm.
I love that film now, and I loved it then. Like I watched it like 100 times, but it also scared the piss out of me. That movie is so scary, and so it's like one of those things where it's like even though I was scared, it was so interesting. It like made an impression on my brain, and I'll never forget that movie. Well,
and they say, and I've heard that people like it's amazing that because that came out in I think 1986, and people like the fact that they were so daring back then to make a movie that was so different, from the 1939 film. And even though there were moments in the 1930s, I remember as a kid that kind of scared me, like the monkeys,
dark,
and when the witch melts, and stuff like that. But then,
but there's no singing,
yeah,
and it is dark immediately,
and that's something that the 80s just it's amazing that you think that Hollywood took those kinds of risks,
right? No risk now, because they have to do well in the box office, And if they don't do well in the box office, that's it. Like, your movie's toast, basically. They don't care if it sells well later, or whatever, does something on streaming. Like, that doesn't matter anymore because they don't have the DVD sales. They don't have the video sales.
Yeah, which what's interesting, though, is because, that one of the exceptions this past year has been Barbie and Oppenheimer because they both
Barbenheimer.
Yeah, the Barbenheimer thing. I don't know if you saw either.
Well, I had to see Barbie.
I'm sure you saw Barbie,
but I didn't see Oppenheimer.
Okay. Well, actually, there's a series that Variety does called Actors on Actors, where it's two actors interviewing each other, and their new season starts with Cillian Murphy and Margot Robbie interviewing each other.
Oh my god!
So it's going to be a Barbenheimer. I
gotta watch that.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be incredible. But what was great about it though is because you had these two movies that were so opposite of each other.
Yes.
And yet the idea that they just kind of fused.
Yes.
In this kind of this social media viral like campaign that I don't think either studio realized was going to happen. And then it just took off because they were so opposite.
I was going to say either that or somebody was really smart and was like, hey, what if we just put these together? And who knows? But it did work. I shared all of the Barbenheimer memes.
Yep.
But I have to say, I took issue. In the Barbie movie, they say that Barbie is not a bimbo. Mm-hmm. And on behalf of the bimbo community, but I was just so shocked because I was thinking to myself about, the millions and millions of dollars that they've made with all these brand collaborations. Like you saw all the makeup brands were doing Barbie makeup and all the shoe brands were doing a Barbie shoe and a Barbie, whatever clothing collection. And I'm like, who do you think is buying all of this? Who do you think is spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on your Barbie collabs?
Yeah.
the bimbos.
Yeah.
So like maybe don't, ostracize us in a film that we all told our friends to go see.
Yeah.
We're the ones who've been sharing the post. We're the ones who've been preaching about it. Like, come on, throw us a bone here.
You get it that there's different Barbies that have different identities and can do different things.
Yeah, but the fact that they're like, Barbie is not a bimbo, I was like...
Well, do you know that's why? So that's the original Aqua song, Barbie Girl. I guess Mattel tried to like do a cease and desist against the song because they thought that the song was trying to portray Barbie as too much of a bimbo in that sense, where it was like, I think the song was obviously just being fun and playful.
Right. It's sexy, but it's fun.
So, and I think it's funny how they actually did a cover of the song in the movie.
A little bit. Yeah. But they said they were like, Aqua's version will not be in the movie. I was like, okay.
Come on. And that's,
But I mean, I've also heard that the original Barbie is designed off of like an old like German comic strip that was like of like a prostitute or, like it was like a racy comic that the Barbie design was based off. So I'm like, I don't know. Either way, I was like, you could have just left that line out. You could have just left it out.
Oh, so they actually say it in the movie.
They say it. They say Barbie is not a bimbo. I was like...
She can be whatever she wants.
Exactly. But, but I'm just like saying, like, don't insult the people who are buying all of your stuff.
Yeah.
And promoting your film.
I remember I saw that because I don't know. I don't think they knew that it was going to be as successful as it was, that it turned into this phenomenon that it did. And I think it's because, I mean, why do you think it was such a popular film?
Well, I mean, it blew. I mean, even with all the hype, it somehow managed to blow my expectations out of the water, which I didn't expect to happen. I thought I was going to go in and be bummed out because it wasn't going to live up to the hype. And what I took away from it, or the feeling that I had when I was like leaving the theater, is it made me remember back when I was a little kid in the 90s and the Spice Girls were the biggest thing, biggest thing in my life. I cite the Spice Girls all the time. And like, the reason why I look the way that I do, even stuff down to my skincare, and the way I feel about myself, because they... You have
a Baby Spice Emma Bunton thing.
I always wanted to. And you know what? Because I had curly hair. When we would play Spice Girls in elementary school, they always made me be Scary Spice.
Oh,
and I always wanted to be Baby. So I was like, I'll be Baby as an adult. But they were so influential, and it was all of this girl power messaging, and you are important and you're valuable and you can do whatever you want. And when they broke up, nothing ever filled that gap. There wasn't anything like that again.
Yeah.
And you can see the difference between people from my generation who were raised on the Spice Girls and how they feel about themselves, and the people who never had the Spice Girls, the women who didn't have the Spice Girls in their lives. And so I felt like it like hurt a generation of women to not have that messaging going out in their pop culture. So I came out of Barbie and I was like, this is it. They finally given us something to replace the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
This is what little girls are going to see, and they're going to grow up having a different sense of self-worth because they have somebody telling them you're important. And even little boys, because there's messaging for little boys. You don't have to be in a relationship to be valid. You don't have to have any outside thing, tell you how to be, or like to make you valid or make you a man.
Yeah.
You are worthwhile on your own, but you have to figure yourself out on your own. And so I think that this is going to be useful for a whole new generation of boys and girls.
So, and I know that you are a big fan of the himbo.
I love the himbos.
So where would you rank Ryan Gosling's Ken? Is he like a Hall of Fame himbo?
Yes.
He is?
I mean,
okay.
10 out. He was every scene that he was in, he was my favorite part of the scene.
I think that's a lot of people.
He stole the show 100%. And if you watch like his interviews for the movies, he's in himbo mode the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's, talking about like, I can't get out of Ken mode. I'm stuck this way. And of course, like my pervy bimbo heart is like, yes, you're stuck in himbo mode. That's so hot, like be a himbo for the rest of your life. Yes. Come over to our side. You understand how good it is to not think and just be hot,
Yeah.
So I, in my fantasies, I want to imagine that that's true, but I know he's probably playing it up for interviews.
Well, yeah. Well, but what's interesting is because, and I said this when I first started to see promos for it, like even just the images where he's like where they do the mug shots and she's looking sad and he's like, yeah, he's like super excited about it.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, here's a guy, because he's a lot of his career, he's played very either unemotional characters or very dour, serious characters, whether it was in movies like Drive or
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, Only God Forgives, The Place Beyond the Pines. Like he played First Man, where he played Neil Armstrong. He played, it was, again, very, very serious. And I'm like, this seems like a role where it was like, be as happy and animated and that. And it seemed like he was having a blast.
That's what I was going to say. He seemed like he was having the best time that whole movie, the whole shoot, all the interviews. He just seemed like he was living his best life. And that's, what being a part of bimbofication and himbofication and thembofication is about, is taking off some of that pressure and just being happy in being and working on yourself and being the best person that you can be, but not worrying about the small stuff, not being sad about stuff, just like trying to be as happy and bubbly and positive and carefree as you can be for a little while, because the world fucking sucks all the time.
Yeah. And it's a means of trying to bring some brightness to it, and just a very like, I'm just going to be happy and not worry about stuff.
Exactly. And a lot of people you'll find, some people are just natural bimbos and himbos. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people that you see in the fetish are people like me who have trouble chronically overthinking, have to be in control of everything at all times, and hyper vigilant. I want to know everything. I want to be aware. I want to have a plan. I want to have a plan. If the plan doesn't go, plans within plans.
Yes.
We all know. And so it's nice to be able to have a moment where you shut your brain off and you're like, okay, somebody else or this hypnosis file is going to take over, or I'm just not going to think about it, and I'm just going to indulge in things that make me happy for a little while so that I don't have to be in control constantly, and I don't have to be thinking and overthinking constantly. Mm-hmm. And it's just a nice break for your brain.
Yeah. So then, because would you say that, because I heard that some people are saying that he was almost the more liked character in the film.
Oh, I'm sure.
And again, nothing against Margot Robbie, because obviously she's the lead.
But her role was more serious. One of her first big things is, do you ever think about death?
Yeah. And the idea being that her character, I don't know if she should have been given maybe some more fun scenes in the beginning, or before they delved into the whole, I'm having an existential crisis part, whereas it seemed like Ken goes just, and I want to say, because you see how even when he starts to realize things in the real world, it seems like he's still having fun with it, and there's still this kind of I want to say, I'm trying to think of the word, but I don't know, maybe credit Ryan Gosling just to be able to play the role with just so much charm and charisma to it, because I think it's easy to play I'm sure it's easy to play a himbo in a very kind of two-dimensional way, but to actually play him to be interesting as well. Because the difference is, I don't know if you saw the 2016 Ghostbusters.
No, I didn't.
With Kristen Wiig. Okay. Well, they had a himbo character that was played by Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen him, but I didn't see the movie.
Yes. Well, and I think they've himboed him a couple of times in Thor, especially in the most recent one.
Because he's very sweet. He's got that golden retriever, so happy.
Yeah. Well, and they played some of that when he, in the first one, when he doesn't really, he's on Earth and he doesn't really know how to do things. And they kind of play some of the jokes that he doesn't get certain things. But yeah. So because I know that, what was it about, him? Do you have your favorite all-time himbos?
Ken is he's really up there right now.
He's up there, yeah. And what about Rocky in Rocky Horror Picture Show? Oh yeah.
Oh my God. He's such a good example. And then you've got a lot of good cartoon ones. You've got Kronk.
Yeah.
He's
Johnny Bravo.
God, Because you have to have, because there's like Gaston, but Gaston's not a himbo, even though he's beefy and dumb because he's not sweet.
Yeah.
You have to have that whole package in order for it to be a himbo.
I feel like if the character is voiced by Patrick Warburton, chances are he's gonna, because he's got that deep,
yes,
but kind of
but
lovable,
dopey,
yeah. And he plays those roles, and he's played those roles like I don't know if you ever watched him, when he was on Seinfeld as David Putty. He was he became a recurring love interest to Elaine, and he was pretty much kind of a himbo in that show where he just, the whole thing was because Elaine always would try to be like, I'm an intellectual, I only want to date
intellectual
men that are on my level, but she would always be like, but I want to date a hot person.
Yes.
So she would date, like, there was another episode where she dated a guy who was actually, like, they actually called him a mimbo, not a himbo, but a male bimbo.
Oh.
So in it, because she's dating this guy who's like super attractive, but he's not very smart. And then like George is like really infatuated with him because he likes that he has like a good looking, cool friend to hang out with. Yeah. So, but yeah, the idea that it just kind of shows how Elaine is really more superficial than she tries to play off.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell people that all the time. Before I was a bimbo, I only started bimbofication in 2014. Mm-hmm. And before I was a bimbo, people would be like, no, I like the way you are. I like alternative girls. I like small boobs. I like, whatever. And so, like I was like, oh, okay, I'm cool. Once I started doing bimbofication, all of those same people were like, oh my God, oh, you're so hot. Oh man. And I got so much more attention. And I was like, see, everybody can claim all they want that they're not into bimbos and they don't like huge boobies and they, want a chick that's super, super smart all the time, whatever. No, when I was smart all the time, everyone was intimidated by me. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted me to dumb myself down all the time, watch what I say, make sure I don't infringe upon anyone's masculinity or, whatever. And then once I went bimbo, it's like people liked it.
You're non-threatening now?
I'm not threatening anymore. Even though I'm still the same level of smart, it's just, because I can be like, haha.
Well, and do you find like it's situational? So if you end up sitting down with somebody, like we'll start talking about Dune, it's like, oh, now I can let this out.
Yes.
Because now it's like, oh, I can actually get involved in a conversation that has more substance.
It was actually very controversial for a while. Because, like, back in the day, bimbofication's more, like, out there and accepted. Now it's more mainstream.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was, very, very niche. And people would get mad if I was smart, like, at all. Or if I, like, talked about being smart or, like, I read a lot of books. If I talked about the books that I read,
mm-hmm.
people were like, you can't be smart and be a bimbo. That was, like, a big narrative. You can't be smart and be a bimbo. And I was like, a bimbo is a fantasy woman. Mm-hmm. I need to be able, if somebody likes a smart woman, I need to be able to be smart.
Yeah.
And I'm also a trophy, right? So if I'm going with you, I'm at your company party, I'm your arm candy, right? And I go up and talk to your boss, I don't want to embarrass you.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have a conversation with your coworkers or with your boss or with your friends and not embarrass you and not stand there like,
like, yeah.
Yeah, I can hold a conversation about anything. I think that that's the proper skill to have to be a trophy girlfriend or to be a trophy wife, to be arm candy. Mm-hmm. And there are people who disagree. They can be another kind of bimbo if they want. This is just the kind of bimbo that I am. I think that it makes me the whole package to be intelligent enough to use that intelligence when I need to.
Well, see, and you brought up a really interesting point because what I find fascinating, because now we're in the age of, I don't know if you've seen like the trad wife movement where mm-hmm. it's more like, and there was a woman who recently, I think she went viral on TikTok and X because, she was like, she looked like she worked out a lot. So she was more a fitness person. She had tattoos, she had a septum piercing. And she was talking about how she's found it difficult to find somebody who wants to be with her because when she sees the men that she's attracted to and she sees the women that they're with, the women are very soft, they're very feminine, and they seem to be more falling into that more, I guess, traditional role that society has now tried to say is bad, where I think that, whatever role you want to be.
Exactly.
If you want to be that traditional woman, that traditional wife, or what you're describing, where you're going, say you're going to a business function or you're going to something, and that, okay, my job tonight is to make him look as great as possible. I don't want to overshine him. I don't want to embarrass him. I don't want to potentially emasculate or make him look bad in any kind of way. And the idea that it's just a matter, it's supporting who you're with. And that's what you want to do. It sounds like when you do something like that.
Well, there's also all kinds of people, all kinds of Barbies, right?
Yeah.
And part of feminism is getting to choose.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the trad wife life.
Mm-hmm.
I love staying home and doing dishes and baking pie. One of my love languages is I will clean your house. I did that for a girlfriend.
Really?
I did that for a girlfriend yesterday.
Okay.
I went over and helped her clean her house because she had a depression moment, and that's how I show my love, I love doing domestic work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good at doing domestic work. I'm a Martha Stewart type, through and through. And so I'm not very good at working jobs.
Yeah.
So I like to have the opportunity to, do those things if I want to. Now, what's different is when I was with my ex, who we talked about on the last podcast, he would expect me to.
Okay.
And he would say, you have to earn your keep, even though I think I was working and he wasn't at the time, but I had to earn my keep, even though I didn't really live there.
Yeah.
And, so after dinner, he would even say oh, let's go do the dishes. And I'd be like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then I'd go over and I'd start doing the dishes and I'd look over and he'd be in bed with the TV on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, you didn't even ask, you didn't even ask. So it's if somebody expects me to do it, I don't want to do it.
Okay.
But if it's me showing my love for you by making sure you got clean underoos, whatever, then I'm so into it. And I think that that's a valid choice because some people just aren't good at the other stuff.
Because have you had other women that have tried to potentially criticize you for the fact that when you say, I like cleaning, I like these domestic things, do you get criticism from other women, say you shouldn't be, or that's programming, you're programmed, or
not really so much anymore.
Okay.
I mean, particularly because it's barely viable to live that life anyway.
Yeah.
That's such a far out scenario for most people anyway. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm retired from shooting, I still do work. I think we talked last time about I was starting to do more career coaching and more life coaching and behind the scenes work. And I still do acting for studios. I just don't do the sex part, but I'm still an actress in porn films all the time. Mm-hmm. I still do behind the scenes work all the time. And I probably will forever. Even if it wasn't about the money, I probably still would because it's the industry I love and I care about and the one that I've been a part of for most of my life. So that's, where my skill set and my knowledge base really lies. Mm-hmm. And which is also valid because we need people that can do that too.
Yeah.
But I know I don't get a whole lot of pushback from women anymore. I think any pushback would just be from dudes being like, oh, but I thought you are a feminist. Mm. Why would you want to clean the house if you're a feminist? Because I'm very, very good at it. I am really, really good at doing it. And so it's why wouldn't you want to do stuff that you're good at and stuff that makes you happy? And, me having my house decorated and organized all the way that I want, it feels good to me and it makes my brain feel good. And everyone watching is like, that girl's a Virgo. That chick is a Virgo. I'm like, yes, I'm very, very Virgo. But yeah, I really don't get much pushback because I think a lot of people understand, or at least women understand, that, I could work if I wanted to. There's no one preventing me from working.
You're just choosing.
I just don't want to work in that capacity. I like being at home. And especially since I've been recovering from my trauma from 2019, 2020, I like being in my house. I've told people before I started getting agoraphobic back in 2014.
Okay.
And a lot of life changes back in 2014. And I was doing much better. And then 2020 happened. and we all had to be in our homes, and my agoraphobia skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's another thing that I've had to work on, being able to like leave the house more. But for right now, being able to work from home and everything like that is fine with me. Like, I'm not desperate to get out there.
Well, and I think that people still think that, say, taking care of a home, they think that taking care of a home is not work, but I'm like,
oh no, they are wrong.
Well, that's the same. Like my mom, she lives in her own home, and she tells me how she'll spend all day cleaning stuff, doing stuff, like, and she's exhausted by the end of the day, and she's the only one that lives there. She doesn't even do it for anybody else but herself and her cat. Yeah. But, you know, cats usually aren't as well, you know,
people don't take into account like the small things that go together to like make a house like function and run really, really well. You know, I always tell people I run a tight ship.
Yeah.
You know, like my soap dispensers are never empty. My, you know, my toilet paper is never gone. I always have clean towels. I always have, you know, these certain things. It's not like I don't have like a, you know, magazine, home and gardens house. It doesn't look like that. But I know where everything in my house is.
Yeah.
If somebody needs a rubber band, I know where it's at. You know, like I know where every single thing. That's, you know, that's why it's that stereotype of like, where are my socks? And it's like, well, I do know that, but you should also know that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So yeah, then it's like, you know, people don't understand how crucial housewives are until you don't have one anymore and you have to find your own socks.
Oh yeah. And so because you mentioned all this stuff, do you want to give a quick update on your celibacy?
Yes, I will give a quick update. So still a virgin, still a born again virgin, we'll say. I don't know how long it's been now, because when we shot the first one, it was coming up on the year mark. Yeah,
so we shot it, I think we did it in early July, because you said it was like July 11th or something was your 1 year, July 13th or something.
Yeah.
So we shot it a few days before that, and then the episode posted, I think, like a week or two after that. So we're kind of almost 6 months.
Yeah, so about a year and a half, no sex. But I have made a lot of progress.
That's great.
So I'd mentioned before that I was trying a system where I was just taking the tiniest little baby steps, because I think that I've used that in other parts of my life, and I feel like that sets me up for the highest level of success, because I'm constantly winning, right? If my goals are so small. And I had done a tantric massage session with a good friend here in Vegas.
Like you were being massaged.
I was being massaged by somebody who does this professionally, tantric massage professionally.
Yes.
And very trauma informed and knew how to work with me. And that, you know, it was very illuminating. It was easier in some ways than I expected. There were parts of it that I thought I was going to be like nervous about that I wasn't. And then there were other parts that were triggering that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave me a baseline of, okay, this is the stuff that I can do, that I'm cool with. This is the stuff that I need to work on. And it's not stuff that you would expect. Like it, you know, he had put my hand on his abs.
Okay.
And that was triggering for me.
Okay.
And so I had to remind myself, you know, this is a different person. This is, you know, it's not him. It's never going to be him again. And like, you're safe, you know, but it was something so small that made me, you know, and I even like, you know, started to cry a little bit because I was so, you know, just like freaked out, you know, and I didn't, and that was embarrassing too. You know, you don't want to like be doing stuff and then you start to cry.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was being very subtle about it, and he was being very understanding because he's used to doing this kind of touch therapy. And then another thing I worked on this year was like literally like being able to make out, being able to kiss people.
Yeah.
Because I told you I was lamenting about how I had a super hottie who wanted to make out with me, and I was like, I don't know what to, you know, I just can't. I'm not there. So I've been able to make out like 3 times.
Okay.
You know, in 6 months.
Nice.
And I think I've got like hand stuff down. I think I can do fingering. I think that's like I got that pretty good. That I don't think that like weirds me out anymore or like scares me anymore. I did get my pussy eaten recently.
Okay.
I was not expecting that. That like maybe like oh this is happening. But I got through it and I was okay. I was able to come.
Was it by a guy or a girl?
It was by a guy.
Okay.
But it was by one of my exes that like I think I probably talked about before that like I keep in my like constant rotation.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Because he's somebody that I've known for a very, very long time and I'm very, very comfortable with.
Okay.
And he also I think didn't know that I was starting so slowly.
Yeah.
Because I have this terrible mistake of like I'll be ovulating and I'll be very, very horny and I will sext things that, you know, like the flesh is willing or, you know, whatever. But, you know, I want to do it, but I couldn't do it. Yeah. And so I'm talking all kinds of shit like, you know, every hole, you know, whatever, you know, I'm just like, use me, fuck me, you know, stuff I would have said and the sex we used to have back when I had sex. And, you know, because he used to fuck me in the ass like all the time. That was like, you know, the top thing. I mean, in relationships in general, part of the reason why I liked being in relationships is because I could get fucked in the ass all the time as much as I wanted.
And so you only would save that for relationships or you would just do it in...
No, it's just because it's such a complicated process to like get ready for that.
Yeah,
and you have to kind of trust or know the person that you're with to make sure that they know how to fuck you in the ass because not everybody knows how. And then you end up getting seriously hurt. Yeah, and then you have to go to a hospital and tell a surgeon, oh, I was getting my butt fucked. I hurt myself. You know, so like, you know, he's somebody I trust. And yeah, so in relationships, it's more comfortable, you know, to be able to do that, you know, for me to be like, all right, give me, you know, 20 minutes. I got to go clean my butt out in your bathroom. And then I'll be right. It'll be really fun when I get back.
Do you have an enemas kit back there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I can keep my enema kit in his house. So he went right for the pussy, like immediedly. And I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, oh, it's actually, okay, it's okay. Oh, shit. You know, it's all right. And so I was really psyched that I was like, all right, checked it off my list. You know,
so that was a breakthrough moment.
That was a breakthrough moment for me. And I was so glad that I was okay with it. Because the last thing I want to do is freak out, cry, you know, like those trauma responses that, you know, are fairly embarrassing. So that went great. And so hopefully he's coming to visit me soon. And maybe we'll have another update, but we'll see what happens. I'm trying not to put expectations on it.
Well, any kind of progress though is, you know, as long as it's forward progress.
Exactly. That's what I want. What I don't want is to be, because that's what happened before is I kept having sexual encounters that were so bad, it would take my progress back and it would set me back. And I'm constantly trying to move forward with everything that I do. Part of bimbofication is always transforming, always leveling up, trying to be better than you were before at all times. And I've really done that a lot this year. I'm super proud of myself.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you've been making that kind of progress. And I definitely, the next time you're here, you know, if that's in another 6 months or whenever, that you will have even more to be able to share in terms of, because again, just to hear that, because it's healing and that's the important thing.
And I think what tacked on to that was because I'm not having like penis and vagina sex, I am trying to explore alternative forms of, you know, sensuality. And so I've noticed that my fetishes have ramped up.
Okay.
A lot. And
so all right. So getting into the fetishes then. So would you say that you have like a set, like few that are your favorites?
I do. So I'm one of those people where in general, it would be like shorter to list the stuff I'm not into. Okay. Because I've always identified as a fetishist. And really before I did porn, like I didn't necessarily want to do porn. I wanted to be a fetish model. Fetishes were what I was passionate about and working in the fetish industry. And I was a dominatrix, a professional dominatrix for a long time. And I was even a pro sub for an amount of time. I did fetish shows. Like, you know, fetish has always been a deep, deep part of me and my sexuality. But I think porn and sex sometimes would overshadow that. And I wouldn't get to indulge in that much, you know. And most people want to fuck you. They don't want to like get weird with you. But
that's
you know, and I'm also always developing new fetishes all the time, but there are some that have definitely like stuck with me throughout the years, or like my long-standing fetishes. So I wrote them down because I made you a list, but I don't want to forget. Oh, and I wanted to mention that from the last time. I thought it was so interesting in our first episode where I'm talking about like my triggers and my trauma and how that affected my brain and my memory. And you can see it happening in the interview.
Really?
If you pay attention, because there are a lot of times where I'll completely lose my train of thought.
Okay.
Or I will, like, the sequence of how things happen will get blurred, or there will be something that I had blocked out that will come back, you know? And so it's like very interesting, you know, to be talking about things, but also being able to see me trigger myself talking about it, and then my, you know, just like completely goes blank because my mind's like, we don't want to think about that, you know.
Did you rewatch your first episode before you came back, or is it just when you watched it whenever you did?
Yeah, I would see clips, you know, and stuff, and I would be like, oh my God, you can really see it happening in real time, exactly what I'm talking about. So I thought that was like fascinating, but maybe like not a lot of people would notice or put it together that that's why I was like stumbling over my words, or that's why I would lose my train of thoughts. It was because I was triggering myself from the trauma that I was talking about.
Yeah. All right. So the fetish list.
Yes. So.
Because you saw bimbofication, I remember, was number one. Yeah.
Bimbofication number one. Because that's my 24/7 lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's something that doesn't go away. I am this all the time, 24 hours a day. I can't take these off, you know, permanent.
Yeah. And you want to go bigger.
And I want to go bigger. I want to, and as soon as possible, guys, come on, let's do it as soon as possible. I got to get these 800s in there. Bimbofication number one, public play. Number two.
Okay. And that's just doing anything in public?
Anything in public. And it can be small, because all fetishes can be combined with other fetishes.
Yeah.
So it can be something like, I don't ever wear panties.
Okay.
It doesn't affect, and I haven't worn panties for years. When I just started to become a bimbo, I was like, bimbos don't wear panties. And so I just stopped wearing them. And so it's like, I'll be out in public and I'm not wearing panties. Nobody else knows that. It doesn't affect anything else in my life. I'm not like rubbing my snail trail all over stuff. You know, like that's not what it's about. Yeah. It's just that I know that I don't have panties on. Yeah. And so that helps put me in that bimbo mindset 24 hours a day.
All right.
But also like, you know, getting fucked everywhere, like always being ready to be fucked. So like, you know. So
if you're wearing like a skirt or something that can be hiked up.
Yes. Easy access all the time. You know, oh, you're at work, let's pop into the bathroom. Oh, we're at a concert, let's pop into the porta potty. You know, like, I don't know. Let's fucking go behind this wall. Let's go in this alley. People want to watch. All right, like, let's go. You know, like, I love being watched. I'm a big exhibitionist, but even if I'm not being watched, fucking out in the woods, I don't care. You know, whatever it is, I love public play. You just have to find that balance of not bringing in like non-consenting people, doing stuff in front of people who are underage. You know, I don't want to traumatize anybody. I want to just be horny.
So I'm curious, do you have an experience then that was like your favorite kind of public place to do it, or just a single experience that just was amazing when you think back on it?
I mean, anytime that I've been able to have sex in front of an audience of people, I love that. There was one time I was at a fetish convention, FroliCon. This is the best. Hi, Frolly family. And I was at a party, because the room parties are big there, and I was like getting eaten out by one guy, and then I was getting fucked by one guy, and then the other guy was like playing with my hair and kissing me, and then this girl came over and she's like sucking on my titties, and I'm having a good time, and and the guy's like feeling a little nervous, and I'm like, no, just you and me, buddy, like lock eyes, like you can do this, buddy, you can come, and
I got you,
and he finally comes, and I didn't like even think about it. But in the party, there are all these people around, and everyone starts to applaud.
Oh, nice.
After he comes, and I stood up and I like bowed, and I was just like, that was such like a like euphoric moment for me of people watching me fuck and then clapping for me afterwards. That's how I wish porn was. That would be amazing.
Well, I was gonna say, you should
after every scene, they're like, "Yay!"
Go to Amsterdam, because don't they do the live sex shows in Amsterdam where they're on stage?
Sure. I mean, but I've done live sex shows on stage as well, because I used to do live fetish shows, and I loved that. Just any opportunity, either being watched or just knowing that I'm in public, doing anything in public, even, you know, just like someone's dominant and they put their hand on the back of your neck while you're walking.
Yeah.
You know, like just anything public play, I think is so hot.
Well, and that actually, so because we're getting close to running out of time.
Yeah.
So, but there was one that you mentioned that I found interesting because I hadn't heard of it, which is soft domination. So, what constitutes as soft domination?
That would be more of like your daddy doms, your sensual doms. You know, not the like pure sadism.
It's not meant to be punishing.
Yeah, I'm only here. Well, punished when you need it.
Okay.
But, you know, the service tops, the caregiver types.
Okay.
And so my style of domination, and the style of domination that I enjoy, because I'm a switch, is somebody who, you know, is caring throughout, and who is, we're having a good time together, and is working with me, or I'm working with them through the pain. If I'm putting them through pain, we're through it together. It's not just me inflicting pain upon them. It's, you know, this thing that we're doing together that we are both enjoying in a sensual, loving type of way. And so that's something that like I enjoy. That's the style that I enjoy. I can take the harder stuff, but if it's in my private life, I want somebody who's going to be gentle with me, and I want somebody that I can be gentle with. Because when I was a pro dom, people wanted me to be, you know, angry, drawn on eyebrows, dom, you know, super, super serious. And I'm not super serious. I'm goofy and silly and funny and sweet. And I want to be able to be sweet while I'm inflicting pain or while I'm receiving pain. Yeah.
Would you say that there's a good spectrum for being like your more hard dom type people that again are more the sadist, like into that? And then you've got the softer, which is
exactly,
it's gentle. There's still that dom sub dynamic, but you're not trying to hurt them, or you're not trying to do.
But even if I do hurt them, there's gentleness mixed in that gives them this sense of safety. Because in order to be a submissive, you really have to feel safe.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing.
Right. And so some people, they really need that extra layer in there to be able to then do the stuff that's really, really hard, to do that kind of pain and, you know, torture and stuff like that.
So, and then the last, well, you also talked about group,
obscure.
The obscure things, which unfortunately we only have a couple minutes left, which, I mean, but the one that I have to ask about, because this is the one that I just was like, was arm veins. Yeah. So what is it? Arm vein, like, so are you talking about like if a guy's like vascular and it's like all of a sudden. Vascularity. Okay.
Oh my God.
Just on the arms or anywhere?
So for me, it's mostly just the arms.
Okay.
And it's something, I mean, and it's really extreme. Like there are a lot of people who are like, oh, I love big, strong hands and big, strong arms. But there are vascular sluts out there who know there's something about like a big, like strong, muscular arm with thick, thick veins running through it. Like I will tell a dude, I'm like, I want to rub my pussy on your arms so bad. And I have dudes will let me do it. Well, they'll like pump themselves up and I just like, you know, ride their arm. But you know, and you think it's weird, right? But those same dudes will all the time now come back from the gym and they'll send me pictures of just their arms because they know, and they think about that. They think about the fact that I'm the girl who likes their arm veins. It'll be years. And it's still in their mind, and they'll be like, "You want to hump these arm veins?" Like it's hot to them now. I always like you know, not tainting, but you know, like I'm corrupting people, and I'm always like giving people new fetishes and introducing them to new stuff. Now people are going to start looking stuff up, and you know, like we talked about all kinds of obscure fetishes, but that'll be maybe another episode.
Yeah, it'll have to unfortunately be another episode.
Give people time to like look stuff up and be like, you know, because there's always that initial like, oh, that's weird, and then you're like,
Well, is
Do I like
it like,
it?
is it
Am I
because
into
how
it?
it looks, or is it just because it represents the, you know, the strength in their arms? Like, what is it
I'm sure it's a combination of all of it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's the same way. Like, I have a huge fetish for socks, particularly over the knee or thigh high knitted socks, like cable knit socks with like thick soles. That
hard for men to come to wear those, but
yeah, but like I like wearing them, and you know, guys
so
are like,
wear
wear stockings, and I'm like, wouldn't you rather me wear some real thick, heavy socks? You know, but even if guys wear long socks, like I think that that's very, very sexy. And I will buy my partner's socks like all the time.
Does cleanliness matter? Like you prefer them cleaner?
Yeah, no, because I don't want to like smell the socks. I don't want to touch the socks.
Okay, so,
I just like the way that they look. They like, but like I'll be like looking at pictures of socks, like shopping, and I'll be like, you know, like it's like a real fetish. And I do the same thing with arm veins. Like a guy will be driving, and I'll be like rubbing his arm, and I'll just be like, we got to get home like right now. Like
I got to get on your arm.
I have to get on your arm so bad. Like it's a real fetish. So.
Wow. All right. Well, and again, we've got more on there, which I wish we could have gotten to, but
you had to talk about the patriarchy.
I did not. That's not what I meant to do. I didn't mean to just get into that. Sorry. It was an interesting conversation because you were talking about how you were getting into all that stuff.
Well,
and
that's
anyway.
the point. Is I can talk about anything.
I know, and it's unfortunate that we only have an hour.
I'm the whole package, baby.
Yeah. So anyway, well, Arielle, again, thank you so much. I had a wonderful time talking to you again. And I'm so happy that you came back, and obviously I'm sure you'll be back again.
Yes.
At some point.
Anytime.
And as always, to all of you out there in Huge Boob Land, we'll see you next time. Bye.